You don't need a website, you don't need a logo, and you don't need a business card. If you have expertise and you have one of these, I'll show you on this episode how to make your first $1,000 as a consultant. Welcome to Your Consulting Business Podcast. My name is Russell Pearson. This is episode 127. Today on the show, I'm going to show you not only how to make your first $1,000, but how you can use that method to make your next $5,000, your next $10,000, and your next $100,000 as a consultant. This is not about theory. This is not about one day. On this episode, I'm going to give you the specific steps for you to implement this in your business now. Now, whether you're a service provider and want to move to the consulting space, whether you just have expertise in whatever profession that you've been working in for a long period of time, if you've got the skills but you don't have the offer, if you've actually got the expertise but you don't have momentum, we're going to give you everything you need to get started. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified when new episodes just like this become available. So there are 4 steps that you need to implement this technique. We call the method referral by proxy, and the first is the most important step because if you don't have it, you can't implement step 2, 3, or 4. Now, luckily, you don't need to have any special funnels or any technical know-how to get this thing to work. What you do need, though, is a phone, especially a smartphone to enable you to search the internet and ideally communicate. That's why you need a communication device. That is step number 1. Do you have a communication device? If you can do that, then we can implement the rest of the steps because at the end of the day, consulting is a conversation, which means that the point of sale for a consultant is that conversation. And if we can have a conversation, whether verbal or written, then it's going to enable us to actually get that first $1,000 sale, and then the next 5, and then the next 10, and 100,000 after that. If you can't talk to people, you can't make offers, and if you can't make offers, you can't make money. Now, we could put a whole lot of infrastructure in place, websites and podcasts and all these great things and wait for people to come to us, but if we want to make $1,000 fast, this is about reaching out, not reaching for perfection. We don't wait for sales to come to us. We go to market and we make our money that way. So with a device in your hand, let's move on to step 2. So the second step is to identify what result we want to get for our prospect or client. And so this is where we look at our expertise and we identify from our past experience, from our expertise, what results can we confidently help people achieve. So to be clear, this is not about selling hours. This is not about selling time. This is about selling results and outcomes. And so what we need to do here is create a list of the results that we can get for people. It's always better to be more specific. So rather than thinking big and say, I can help you grow your business or make your first $1 million, get more specific, especially at the start. And it might be as simple as I can help you launch your first newsletter, or maybe I can help you actually set up your online presence, but even that's too broad. So I can help you actually set up your social media accounts. That could be something simple. Or I can show you how to make X amount of dollars, which is what I'm doing here for you today. But at the end of the day, it has to be valuable for them. If it's valuable to them, then it's going to be sellable by you. People don't pay for the effort that you put in, they pay for the result. And that's where the value of having a consulting business comes from, because often the how I do a thing or how I can actually achieve a thing becomes so much more valuable than doing the actions themselves because it creates a clear path for people. So there's a lot of service providers giving away their consulting for free so that they get the after work, so they get the service work. But in actual fact, if you are running a service business, there is so much value in the strategy, in the how to achieve a better result, that you can actually get paid for by doing consulting. And the same thing can happen if you're just moving from an employee position to consulting to start with. You don't have to do the work, you've got to help people achieve the outcome. The result is not about doing it for them. If you've been running a service business in the past, then you know that that's been doing the work on their behalf. But with consulting, what we're doing is we're going to enable them to take whatever step they need to take to get the result. Now, there's so many different ways that you can actually help someone achieve a result without doing it for them. Some of that could be training, it could be consulting. Maybe you're coaching them on the steps or advising them, or even consulting and giving them the specific steps that they need to put the actions in place that'll get the result. The result is the reason that people are going to work with you. So the clearer the result, the clearer the offer, and the clearer the sale. Now, step 3 is where a lot of people go wrong. They think that their result is relevant to everybody. But when we make an offer to everybody, it's relevant to nobody. And so the step here is to define your market. And I don't mean broad market like business owners or solopreneurs. I mean, get specific. You know, is this tennis coaches? That's very, very specific. Is this new mothers of children under the age of 1, all right? That's specific. Or is it, we'll say fitness coaches, or maybe it's accountants. We need to be able to communicate this audience to someone else and for them to go, I know one of those. And so if we can do that, then we're going to be in the right place. The other thing that's good about it is that we can create relevance. We can be very relevant to that person by saying, this is website for accountant. By saying that, the accountant goes, oh, okay, well, that's relevant to me because I am one. If they identify as the market name that you are pitching at, then they're going to hear more clearly the offers that you're making. And so what I want you to do is actually list out 3 niche markets, 3 identities of people who would benefit from your offer. We're going to create a list for them. Then we're going to ask ourselves 3 questions. Does this result benefit them? Number 2, do we enjoy working with them? And number 3, can they afford it? We're only talking about $1,000 to get you started. And for many of you, the value you're going to create is so much more valuable than the $1,000 you're going to start charging. But over time, we can increase that value. The way I like to look at value is, can we at least get someone 10 times the value that they put into our service offering? If we're able to do that, then I can confidently sell that every single day of the week. So ideally in this model, we want to find problems that are worth more than $10,000 to solve. So if I can help someone get $10,000, I'm more than happy to charge $1,000 to help them get that. If I can help them make $2,000, but I can help them make it 10 times in a row, then I'm going to happily charge $2,000. But we're going to start with $1,000 to get us started so you can get confident in the process. By narrowing your market, you're not actually cutting off your opportunities. There are still thousands of people, no matter how narrow your niche is. And so by getting focus, it enables you to get faster to market and it allows you to spend far less energy to do it, which means you can accelerate your offers and you can accelerate your results. So we always start narrow before we open up and go wider. So based off the results, which one got the most ticks? And if you're stuck, you can always flip a coin. You've now got your communication device, the result that you're going to offer, and your market who you're going to offer it to. Now let's get on with the offer. So point number 4 is the offer itself, and this is where the magic happens. A lot of people think that they need some presentation or webinar, they need a website set up, they need some sort of brochure or something before they can make an offer. But what you need is a simple sentence, and that sentence is not going to be, would you like to work with me? So let me go to the board and I'll show you the sentence structure you need to use. So this is the sentence structure, and basically what you want to do is use this at the end of a conversation. Pretty much a conversation with anybody who could be even close to actually your market. So they might know somebody. Now that could be a friend and a colleague. It could be family members. It could be people down at the local gym or club. It doesn't really matter. But at the end of a conversation, we say, by the way, I'm looking to speak with a few specific market. So I'm looking to speak with a few accountants, or I'm looking to speak with a few mothers with children under the age of 1, or whatever the specific market is, who want results. So specific results. And so that's your sentence, and then you say, who comes to mind? So I'm looking to speak to specific accountants who want to find more ideal staff members, right? Or more senior accountants to work within their practice. Who comes to mind? The who comes to mind part of this is actually quite important because it prompts the unconscious to think, is there somebody? And if there is somebody sitting back there, they will come to mind. Now, you will often get a response which is, no, sorry, I don't. And you'll get a response that might be, I don't currently, but I'll think about it, right? They're all fine. But there'll be a number of people that you'll speak to who will say, oh, well, actually, Jeff might be ideal for you, or Sally might be someone you should speak to. And then you'll say, fantastic. Well, I'd love some form of introduction, whether that be on social media or email. I like email introductions myself. But if you could connect us, that'd be fantastic. And then you're going to actually speak to Sally or Jeff, who has had this warm introduction through the person you know. And you can actually say, this is what I'm offering. I'm offering at this discounted rate. Would it be something worth speaking about? And if it is, they will come in and be a prospect for you to actually make the offer. Now, I'll give you the structure for this specific offer in a moment, but here is the sentence that we make to the third party. So at the end of the day, you will ask somebody who they know. And that person might be able to recall somebody, or someone comes to mind that is the person. And they will make that introduction for you. And so this is the referral by proxy. So it's a by proxy referral through somebody who knows you both. So it's a really effective method of doing it so that you're not having a relationship with just strangers. There is a third-party relationship through these people, and that's how things like blind dates are created. So how many people are you going to have to speak to find the people who are going to be right for your offer? Well, it could be 100, it could be 200, it could be 1,000. But I'm going to show you the specific benchmarks that I got by running this campaign at 2 different times last year, and they're going to give you an idea about what you can expect. So here's the results of the campaign. We ran it back in August last year. I had 5 sales, and the idea behind the campaign is that it was to get 5 sales. So $5,000 was the confirmation, and we just did this as a test to make sure that we were able to get these sort of results consistently so that we could show some people some benchmarks. So in August, which is a good time to sell consulting in my world, we did 84 conversations, so 84 of those by the way type conversations that turned into 17 connections. In other words, I was introduced to 17 individuals. Of those, I qualified them down to have 11 people that we made offers with, and we had 5 sales. Now that happened in 2 weeks, and I closed the campaign. So there were still people outside of the 5 that wanted to join, but I closed it to 5 because that's the way that I was setting it up. So there were some other people that we ended up working with down the track. Now I went and did that same thing in December, and here are our results. Now December, much harder, especially in Australia. There is a very sleepy December and January. So I had to go out to 232 people. All right. So there's a huge difference between our 84 and our 232. Now I'm going to take that and I'll put it up here so we can compare the two together. But we got 84 versus 232. Huge. We only got 13 connections, so a lot less. 7 people I made the offer to, and 5 said yes. So again, back to the $5,000, but it actually took me 5 weeks to do that. Now, it's not 5 weeks to make $5,000. I made plenty of sales around that, but that was just with this one little offer. And so this is a great way to get started, to get your first 1,000, to get your first 5,000, and it costs you nothing. So this is without having a website, without needing to put any infrastructure or branding or taking time to get it done. In 5 weeks, worst case scenario, in the worst time of year, pretty much while everybody's away on holiday, we can still get 5 clients. Now, that doesn't mean you have to sell your programs for $1,000. This is just the example. The majority of things that I sell these days are $5,000 a pop. Obviously, if I was selling it at 5, suddenly we're at $25,000 for each of these situations. But it does depend on the value you're providing for the individuals you're working with. So here I would say probably average to best case scenario. This is definitely out of the ordinary, but still a really good example that it's somewhere in between there is probably what you could expect to do. At the end of the day, if you really want to set up a consulting business, you'd be willing to speak to 1,000, 3,000 people, whatever it takes to actually get that business started. But just showing those benchmarks hopefully should give you not only a little bit of hope, but actually give you real benchmarks on the sort of activity that you would need to do. So now let me quickly show you what is the level of detail that I needed to give these people for them to say yes. So this is pretty much the structure of the offer, and I offered it verbally. So I actually said this. So here's what we've got. So what it is, and in this case, it was a program that we were running that was actually going to give them the results in 30 days. So we'll talk to the time limit in a minute. So what is it that you're actually offering? What is the result? So again, just repeating the result. We already should have that result from the by proxy method already. So what the result? How does it work? And usually that's like a bullet points. Like what are the 3 things that we're going to do to make sure that it does work? So what's the secret sauce behind it? And then how do they get it? So they get it by, in this case, just saying, yes, I'd like to go ahead. But usually it's like, well, we would book the first appointment. We would take the money, or you can do it as a deposit. We'll take 50%, or you can take it all up front. There's no problem with $1,000 up front to get the result. It's usually a low risk for people who are where this is a high value outcome for them. Okay, so what do they need to do to get it? So you might say that what we're running is a program for 5 people to get the result, which in this case could be, your first, maybe I should run this for you guys, your first $1,000 in your consulting practice. All right, that's the goal. How we're going to do it? Well, we're going to do it by creating an expert framework, because that's a thing that I teach. We're going to run a campaign and we're going to track your numbers so that we can improve it, right? So that's the 3 things we're going to do. How do you do it? Well, you tell me yes. We'll get you to sign a 1-page agreement. And the 1-page agreement will pretty much say, this is what we're going to do. Do you agree to do those things? So ideally, that's the piece. Now, you can give a guarantee around that, which is absolutely fine, especially if you are confident in getting the result, which ideally you should be. Every time that you're doing this, it's making a promise that you're intending to keep. So, if you can't help them to get the result, or at least the momentum to the result, and they've done the work, I think there's absolutely no problem with the option of having some form of guarantee around it. So they do the agreement, they make the payment. So payment, and we book the first session, or maybe if it's a group session, which is what it was in this program, and the one I did that I showed you the results on, then it was a case of this is when the first session's going to happen. All right, so then we did a number of different sessions together. So this is an example of the offer. I just did it verbally. I didn't do this written. Right, so you can absolutely make it verbal. I think the written offer is potentially okay, but you've got the person there with them. So if they're not sure about it, then you can actually answer any questions they've got there live on the call, or you can handle any objections if there are any. So it should be a very simple offer with a high upside, and it makes it easy to say yes. Don't forget, we're starting in this place. Now, you might not be confident with $1,000. You could charge $500, you could charge $200, but I want you to charge something, because it's the value in charging rather than doing free work that actually enables you to get confident in what you're doing. There is a lot of people out there that are telling you that you should do the work for free so that you can get confident and then build demand. But the reality is, if you do it for free, you have not been through the sales process, and you don't get good at sales. You might get good at doing the thing, and if you haven't got the results before, then do it for free. But if you are good at getting the results, then charge, because it's about the sales process and getting confident in the sales process that enables you to then build a consulting practice. If you're finding this valuable, then go to russellpearsonprograms.com and you can get an additional resource absolutely free to help you in building your consulting practice. Now, the funny thing about this campaign is I know it works, not only because I've tried it myself, but my clients have put it into their business and it's been very successful. But where it doesn't work is when people are just thinking about it. Where it doesn't work is where people don't have the conversations. Because at the end of the day, consulting sales come from conversations. And so if you're not willing to have the conversations, it's going to be very difficult to build a successful consulting practice. But I challenge you, because at the end of the day, the majority of people I've shared this with have not gone and put it in practice. So I challenge you to put it in place, put it in practice, have the conversations. Come back to me, let me know what sort of numbers you did. I'd be really fascinating to hear about your results. And if you've got any comments or questions, you can leave them below, and I'd love to answer every single one of them as well. And if you haven't already seen it, the Consulting Guild is a fantastic place where we have a peer group community of consultants who are all working together to build their consulting practices. And where we put campaigns like this, like the Referral by Proxy, the 120 list, and the Clockwork campaign in place to help generate momentum and generate leads and clients for their business. If you're interested to know more about that, click on the link below and you can check out the details, and I invite you to put in an expression of interest and we can have a conversation about whether the Consulting Guild is going to be right for you. My name is Russell Pearson. This is episode 127 of the Your Consulting Business podcast. Until next time, stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.